What up is Marcus Dynasty Football Dads. We have the fine line of overvaluing or undervaluing veterans. And I'm going to give you some perfect examples in Dynasty of veterans that I think that are just overvalued and some that are undervalued. And we've had some discussions of like this before. So we're going to start with some overvalued veterans. And so when we talk about running backs, Christian McCaffrey, I have seen him in the top three, which means that Bijan, Brees, or JT, one of those three are being jumped. I mean, Bijan has been the number one in Dynasty. I've even talked about the last few months. So likely a lot of the times it's been one of two players. It's been usually either Brees Hall because of his injury concern, or it's Jonathan Taylor because of either his injury concern or last year's production. And so I cannot see a situation, even if it is contender championship mode, that I would want CMC over one of these three running backs. CMC is awesome, but think about what you are giving up. You are giving up. Look at 3 years from now. You're going to have a running back that is 30 years old in CMC versus running backs that are 24, 25. Even Jonathan Taylor, a little bit older, but he's going to be at this point where he's 26, 27 years old, looking to be, well, you probably could even sell him before that, but I even talk about Saquon Barkley on how he is an RB6. He's had a really up and down career. You look at that, if that is what Bijan Robinson and Brees Hall end up becoming, you're talking about a very small dip, where CMC is likely in 3 years going to be a RB30 or potentially even out of the league at that point. It's just what is reality. And I'm not willing to give that up. I am not willing to give up the long term for that amount of short term. Yes, CMC likely has the advantage over each one of these three running backs this year. And even next year, I think that these three running backs easily could be drafted in redraft ahead of CMC. So, Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill, two very, very dynamic and great wide receivers last year in 2022. Over Chris Olave, Devontae Smith, T. Higgins. Now, two of those are wide receiver twos on their team, and one is a wide receiver one on his team, Chris Olave. But Devontae Smith, 24, T. Higgins, 24, Chris Olave, I mean, you're talking about 22. You're talking about three wide receivers. Again, that I'm going to have over such a longer period of time over Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams, which I think you give them 24 months, maybe 36, but 24 months is my 2 years. I think that's what you're going to get out of them, that they're going to overproduce Olave, Devontae Smith, and T. Higgins. I am easily wanting some of these younger wide receivers. I think you're overvaluing the short term, what could be. And honestly, Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams, their production value is not going to be drastically over Chris Olave and Devontae Smith, T. Higgins enough that it's not going to be that big of a game changer, in my opinion. I mean, yes, if you're talking about nickels and dimes, if you're talking about the slightest edge, yes. But again, you're sacrificing so much on the youth that, again, this is why teams that all of a sudden are great in 2-3 years, if you have a CMC and Hill and you don't do anything, you're all talking about a team that's going to be going in a massive rebuild. The last one, Travis Kelce. I love Travis Kelce. But putting him over TJ Hawkinson, I think, is just silly in Dynasty. TJ Hawkinson has had a lot of hype. He is a Viking, and even before he was a Viking, when he was a Detroit Lion last year, I said that you have to have TJ Hawkinson over Kelce. Unless Kelce literally does stuff that we have not seen before, besides basically Tony Gonzalez, you are looking at a loss here. And he could retire after another Super Bowl win. He's talked about how he's going to try to go as long as possible, but TJ Hawkinson is still a valuable tight end. He was the second best tight end over the back half of the last year. If you minus, I believe it's week 18. If you include week 18, he's tight end 3. I mean, a top 3-4 tight end. It's going to be Pitts. It's going to be Mark Andrews. But after that, you have TJ Hawkinson is my tight end 3, and then tight end 4. Then you can put Travis Kelce there ahead of a lot of these other very risky tight ends. But I just can't see it. So now let's talk about some veterans that I think are just undervalued, where you can make up some ground. Because if you're choosing a Chris Olave or a Devontae Smith over a Tyreek Hill, you need to find value in production. And then to me, Mike Evans is still the 1,000-yard man. Until he isn't, he is. Does that make sense? Until he isn't, he is. And the value of where he's going in drafts is right around Kadarius Toney and Elijah Moore, which Kadarius Toney, I think, has been one of the biggest overrated wide receivers that I can think of. Yes, He has some dynamic playmaking abilities in short bursts. He's looked amazing for like 5 plays. And in one game where he basically punched a guy and got in a fight, he looked absolutely amazing as a New York Giant, and then they shipped him off. There's a lot of would be, could be, and you know what? Honestly, you know what? Kadarius Toney has every single attribute that you could be losing a top 12 wide receiver down the road. There's a 95% chance in my head that he's going to end up being just this guy that has these little bursts, and then all of a sudden he just kind of does what he always does. He either gets hurt or can't be on the field or gets into trouble or issues, and Mike Evans is just so safe. And I'm taking Mike Evans. Elijah Moore, again, another prospect that was an extreme disappointment his sophomore year. Yeah, these, again, you're trading some of the reward of that top 10 wide receiver for a few years, which is super, super unlikely for, again, Mike Evans, who is probably going to go out there and give you 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns with no matter who the quarterback is, and that's what just Mike Evans does, and that's where you can start gaining up on some of that production. The next one, Juju Smith-Schuster, who I do not like, but he goes to New England and you are giving up Jordan Reed, Jacoby Myers, or Mooney, who I like Mooney, but again, for Justin Fields' team, no. So Juju Smith-Schuster, the wide receiver 1 in New England, you are giving up those types of players. I think Juju Smith-Schuster has the talent, enough talent to, again, make up some production that you are giving up on that top elite tier towards the end. Jamal Williams, Tyler Algier. Again, Jamal Williams just came off in an amazing year. Kamara might be suspended, and you're getting a handcuff. A handcuff to the number 1 running back. Yes, it's a handcuff, but like Jamal Williams is still an adequate running back last year. There is a chance that he ends up becoming a great New Orleans running back, at least for the next year, which is what you want. Rashad Penny over Chase Brown. Chase Brown, yes, I like Chase Brown, but not that much. Rashad Penny has a chance of, again, being a starter, getting some of these veterans to fill in your roster, fill in your depth. Kirk Cousins, Geno Smith, 2 very good very, very, very good quarterbacks into that like above quarterback 15 and not into that quarterback 5 realm, so like 5 to 15. I think they're very underrated. Yes, Geno Smith was more of a flash in the pan, but still has the weapons and everything around him to succeed. And now he gets Zach Charbonnet and JSN, one of the best pass catching running backs of this class and the best wide receiver of this class. And you are giving up Kenny Pickett. Again, Kenny Pickett is fine. It's not great in my opinion. Yes, he has a little bit of mobility, but I don't think he's going to make the sophomore jump enough to what you want with Kirk Cousins, Geno Smith, and then Jordan Love. I have talked about how I am not a big Jordan Love fan or supporter there. Definitely not a fan because I'm a Vikings fan. But again, I think you're just giving up a lot of risk. And then Darren Waller versus Njoku and what did I even write? Who is that? I don't even know what that. Oh, Michael Mayer. Man, I wrote that absolutely horrible. Yeah, Michael Mayer. Again, Darren Waller, if you are looking at some of these veterans to give you production, I'm not getting these veterans that are going to be way over some of these elite cornerstones. I am taking some of the veterans to fill out my roster, and that is where I am trying to make the difference with some of these vets. There's some boomer bust. Like, if I'm a rebuilding team right off the bat, then maybe I'll take a Kadarius Toney or Elijah Moore. But you want to compete. You want to go after it right away. It's never, there's always like the productive struggle and everything, talk about that. But again, these are some of the players that I like and some of the players that I think are overrated for veterans. And let me know what you think. Let me know what strategy that has worked best for you when it comes down to veterans. Peace out. Take care. We'll see you in a couple days.